Hello, I'm Savage Jim, and I've decided to take apart and clean this very old USGI Lensatic military compass. Reason why I was doing that was because I've already removed the inside of the bowl here, so you won't see the dial. The dial is actually over here. The reason why I wanted to take this apart was to give the lens a good cleaning. What had happened was the outer lens on this bezel was completely fogged over. It was very difficult to read. Additionally, the lens, which goes over the actual compass bowl, was fogged over itself too. Taking it apart is actually very easy. There's 4 screws that fit at the base plate, and all you need is a number 2 Phillips screwdriver to unscrew these here. The base plate does pop out just like that once you unscrew the bolts, the screws, and you got to watch out for this little piece. It will fall out. It goes underneath here. This is the locking piece to lock the compass dial, the compass disc in place when you have your thumb ring closed over, or I'm sorry, when you have the eyepiece closed. Once the base plate was out, you have to watch out for this tiny little plastic piece which falls out. It goes right here, and this piece is what locks your floating disc inside the compass bowl in place when not in use. And of course the eyepiece is what pushes down on that little tab, which in turn pushes on this button back here and pushes up a little. Well, let me take that out. Which pushes up this little ring on the outside of this the float needle and locks the floating disc in place. So when you pull this apart, be very careful and watch out for this piece once this plate comes off. Now, the bowl was actually very difficult for me to pull out. The reason being is it has this rubber liner. It's meant to keep moisture and water out from inside of the floating disc bowl. So you do have to have a blade or some sort of a flat surface to reach in there and pry it up gently. You be very careful, because if you are not, you will rip the lining and also therefore compromise its ability to keep out moisture and water from inside. Now, once I had removed the bowl, I just simply took a good cleaning rag, preferably microfiber. This is not microfiber, but it works enough for me, and I gave the inside a good cleaning. I'm still working on it. And as far as this other piece goes, which is on the bowl, all you simply have to do is just simply with your thumb, just pry it back like this, the rubber liner. Pry it back on that rubber liner all the way around, and then simply push and slide this inner glass out. I'm not sure what material this is. I think it's just simple plastic. That's what it feels like to me. Give it a good wipe down, preferably with a good microfiber cloth. And with just a good wipe down, I was able to completely eliminate the fogging. For maintaining the bowl, they say that the floating pin, does develop burrs on it. I don't see any, so. And then of course with the touch of my finger, I don't feel any burrs. But just in case, I did take a small blade, a knife blade, and scratched up like this, gently. And if I felt something rough, I worked on that until it felt smooth. And just simply turned it all the way around. Trying to be very careful not to take too much metal off and to retain the pin shape. Very gentle. And then of course on the inside of where the float pin goes into to suspend your compass dial, I gave that made sure that was very clean and blew out as much dirt and whatever was in there as possible. The next thing I did is I took some graphite, some dry lubricant graphite, This is just a graphite used by locksmiths, and I put a very tiny dab in there. Very little goes a long way, so do not put a whole lot, because otherwise the bottom of your bowl will be filled with graphite dust. Then just simply put that in and make sure that that your suspended floating disc floats evenly and turns very readily. This next step of the reassembly is probably the hardest part of the procedure. What you need to do in this one is to take your clear plastic piece, which goes over your compass bowl. As you can see, the edge has a beveled end. Make sure that the bevel side is up. And what you need to do is just simply slide this back over the bowl and take and pull back the lip of the liner all the way around, and make sure that the lip goes over the bevel of the clear piece all the way around, just like that. Now you'll see a sight line on top. Make sure that sight line is dead center in line with the squared off piece in the back. It's slightly off, so just take your fingers and slightly slide it back in line, just like that. And of course, wherever the rubber liner lip came loose, simply slip that right back over and start to wipe down the top wherever you touched the clear piece. Give it a good cleaning before we reinsert it back into the body of the compass. And once you got that all in proper alignment, just simply slip the bowl piece back into the base, and make sure that this squared off piece in the back fits into this slot right here. With the compass bowl already reinstalled back into the body, let's check our work and make sure that the sight line on the glass piece that went on top of the compass bowl is in line properly. You can see it faintly right here, and yes, it is in line. And then of course, let's go ahead and center line our bezel line back in line with that as well. Next thing we need to do is reinstall the base, but before we do that, the small plastic piece that falls out, we need to reinstall that. What we need to do is we need to take the long end of this triangle and have it pointing towards the thumb ring, and the flat side is going to go towards the bottom of the compass, or actually when you're installing it, it's going to be put up. So that's the bottom side of that little piece. Push it down, and if it doesn't fit properly, just turn the eyepiece up to get it back out of the little recess, and then twist back down and try again. So it looks nice and straight. And of course, all we need to do is now install the base and rescrew the screws back onto the compass body. Put the screws in and just basically finger tightened. What I like to do is I like to do final tightening with the screwdriver and turn a quarter turn on each screw in a star pattern, just like much what you would do when you're reinstalling your tire back onto your car. And just like that. There we are. Now we have a compass with a fully cleared and cleaned sight glass. And where I could not even read the graduations on the floating disc through this magnification piece, now I could see the graduations once again. And of course, I could shoot a proper azimuth by just simply looking up and viewing the sighting wire. That's how you clean a compass, folks.